Welcome back to Where the Ramp Ends. I'm Bryce,
And I'm Summer.
and today on Where the Ramp Ends, we have Shannon Pinkerton. Shannon, welcome to Where the Ramp Ends. If you would
Hello.
like to briefly introduce yourself to our listeners, we would love that very much.
Well, I am Shannon, and I am the Pinkerton boys' mom. I have adopted 6 boys that have special needs. 5 have Down syndrome. Cam was just an extra bonus that came along with his brother, Julian. So, that's just us. We're a big family. We like to go have fun, and you never know what you're gonna get. We don't edit our videos on TikTok, so sometimes you're like, "Oh my goodness, did you just say that?" But we're just
Your your videos are absolutely precious, and as a mom with, a young child that has Down syndrome, it's really not only fun for me to watch them, but also valuable to me because
Yes.
just to see the way your family interacts, it really gives me, support and a little bit of look into the future, and it's just really valuable for, I think, young families that have children with Down syndrome.
it's scary to know to not know the unknown. Because like, when the doctors come and tell us your child has Down syndrome, it's never positive. It's not like, "Hey, your kid has Down syndrome, and they're gonna be able to do all this." It's, "Well, they're not gonna walk, they're not gonna crawl, they're gonna have feeding issues, they're gonna be low mobility." You know what I'm saying? There's never most doctors don't do the positive in it. They act like it's a terrible thing, and like I had told you guys before, my last baby, I was told was gonna have Down syndrome. I was ecstatic. I'm jumping up and down. The nurse is wanting to know, "Do you have support?" I don't think you'll understand." I'm like, "I absolutely understand." I was just pumped that I was having a baby with Down syndrome, and I had said from a child that telling my mom and my grandparents, "I wanna have a baby with Down syndrome." I've just always been drawn to kids with special needs, even as a child, and I love elderly people. I love to sit and listen to their stories. It's just and then my son is perfect. He would have been perfect even if he had Down syndrome, but he ended up not having it, and I was very sad. And people didn't understand why I was so sad, but it was almost like the air was let out of the balloon at first because I was so pumped to have a baby with Down syndrome.
But you said that you did understand what that meant, so you
Yeah.
had exposure to people with disabilities and to Down syndrome as a child?
Yes, so my parents had a group home that had 6 ladies. One of them was my sister who they adopted, Patty, but they didn't adopt her till she was over 18. Her mom was passing away and didn't want her brothers to get custody of them because they just weren't settled. So my mom adopted her, but I had been with her since I was a child, so there was no difference. You know what I'm saying, in her being part of our life. She passed away in 2017. She got dementia really, early, like in her 40s, and, it took her,
And
but she was the best.
one of the first videos I saw of yours was with Mary Beth, and
Yes.
I will tell you, I just sat there and cried because here I had a daughter that has Down syndrome. You always, kind of worry about like, what if, what's going to happen when I'm gone? And I saw Mary Beth being loved by your family. You
Oh,
guys
yeah.
just loved her so much. And to see that, I just fell in love with your family just right away.
Yeah, life without Mary Beth was really hard because I was a young kid when she lived with my parents. She came to me when I was adult, but she lived with me the last 20 years. So I don't know life without Mary Beth. So it's been I can't even talk about it. It was really difficult. So during COVID, we got bored, and Cameron wanted to get onto TikTok and Facebook because he wanted to find some of his biological family and friends.
Uh-huh.
That's how we started out on social media because Cameron had been in like 36 placements, and you're in
Oh,
foster care, and they're
oh.
like, "Hey, you're moving today. You don't get to take your stuff. You don't get to say goodbye to teachers." And one of his best friends actually found him on social media,
What?
and so he was in Utah, so we drove 6.5 hours to surprise Cameron at the
Ah.
park to see him. So that's how the social media started.
Oh
But
my.
I will say we were on t I think TikTok for like 2 weeks, and I deleted it. People were mean and vicious, and I could it was heartbreaking. But Cameron had such a fit. "Well, my friends have it, I wanna have it." So we got back on, I got thicker skin, and here we are.
Yeah.
But we've had, like, bio families reach out for Anthony. Cameron, and we have Devlin's mom, but I love Devlin's mom. Um, Teachers that have had Cameron or Julian or some of the boys in the past that have sent us pictures of them when they were babies or like in kindergarten and first grade. So it's been nice because now they got to actually find out what happened to the boys. They just were gone one day.
Yeah.
So it's been nice to have parents or teachers that be like, "Hey, I worked with him. He was in my second grade class," or "Hey, I was friends with him."
Y
I love that. I love that. And
yes.
that's gotta be so good for the boys too to
Oh,
kind of
yes,
have that.
to get those pictures that we don't have a lot of, you
Yeah.
know? When you bounce around, I feel like the foster care system lets some of these kids down because if they have special needs, they don't put them in usually homes with special needs. They either go to a facility or they go to a home that doesn't know anything. Because
Right.
Joey had, this is probably too much information, but Joey had a very good foster family. They were older, but he was smearing feces on the wall. But they were in their 70s and they said he didn't know better. So they would just clean it up. And I'm thinking, "Oh, he knows better."
Oh,
So, I'm like, "Buddy, I can't wait to get you home." And we're at the airport, he sticks his tongue out at me and he takes off running and stuff like that. Well, the first week he did it, he was 10 years old, he smeared his feces, we got a toothbrush and a washcloth, I said, "Here you go." We sat there for an hour and he kept handing it to me. I said, "Oh, no, 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 I didn't do that. You did that." And he never did it again. He cleaned it up and he never did it again. I'm like, "Buddy, I am stubborn."
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know. They did their best. They were awesome, but they didn't expect a lot from Joe. And
that
What would you say to somebody that's considering fostering slash adoption of a child that has Down syndrome, but they're not real familiar with um with kids that have Down syndrome? Is there any advice that you would give?
yes, I would say treat them as normal as possible. I know that maybe they can't do as much as the same kid their age, but they have the ability to do the best that they can do. Everyone tends to baby them and give them what they want because they're so sweet and precious and cute. Even my Devlin can get what he wants because he's hilarious and he can smooth a girl. But eventually they're going to be adults and we want them to be functioning in society. So
that
we want them like with me, I want my boys as independent as possible because when I'm gone, I want someone to be like, "Oh, we could take Joe. He could live with us. We could take Cam. He could live with us." You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people, they don't give
right.
them enough credit. Like my Tracy that's nonverbal, he's very, very smart. But everyone thinks that he's very low functioning and he's not. Now he'll play it to the hilt to get out of stuff, but
Yeah.
he understands everything that we say. And that's where I find they you need to have expectations for them. I even find us as a family going out to lunch. And this just happened last month. We're sitting there, and this lady comes up to us and she says, "Oh, are you on an outing? Did you all get to go on an outing today?" I'm like, "No, we're at lunch." Now, mind you, she's with six other ladies. That'd be the
Yeah.
same as me walking up and be like, "Oh, are you guys on an
Mm,
outing?" So why is it that
Yeah.
Summer, you
yeah,
and I will go to lunch and we're going to lunch, but the boys go to lunch, it's an outing.
Yeah.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? And they're sitting there
Yeah.
with their family. So I get a verbiage stuff. I try to really bite my tongue and stuff, or sometimes I'll politely explain because I'm like, "No, we're just out to lunch. We're a family."
Yeah.
But like she just bent over, baby talked them. "You're on an outing?" Like, "No, we're out to lunch." Just
Or
like
as
you are with
Bryce
your
would
six friends.
Yeah, as Bryce would say, it's just a typical Tuesday for us. It's
Yes.
just a
Yeah, that's
typical
what
I've
that's
day.
had
yeah.
I've had several people. I'll share a brief story that's similar to that. Shannon, a couple of years ago, I was at the Oklahoma State Fair, and a guy came up to me and my brother, and he said to my brother, "Good for you. I'm so glad that you got him out today. Good for you. God bless you." And my brother was like, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Good for you that you got this young man out and took him to the fair." And he said, "My brother is here to have a corn dog and drink a beer. Like, he is not
Yeah.
special." Like,
Good for you that you got out in the community today.
yeah,
Let's put
good for
it
you.
like that.
Yeah.
People I try to show grace because I know a lot of people don't understand, and that's why we are here to
Right,
show you on our
right.
page. Do you know what I'm saying? And we want to but sometimes you really just gotta bite your tongue, you know?
Yeah.
I because even, like, we just went because my husband and I are getting older, we had guardianship of the boys because in Wyoming, you have to get guardianship.
Sure.
It's a guardianship. But we transferred it a few weeks ago over to my daughter, um, because of we're older, and if something happens, I didn't want them to have the cost of transferring it, you know what I'm saying? And everybody's scrambling. So we got our ducks in a row, and the lawyer, "Your Honor, because of the parents are getting older and these boys suffer from Down syndrome." Okay, first of all, they don't suffer. Just his wording, I'm like, "And you're a lawyer." And the
Yeah,
judge didn't correct him. It was very offensive. And my daughter knew. So, she's like squeezing my hand because she knows I want to say something. But we're in the middle of a court hearing. I have to be appropriate. But it was like that was so they do not suffer.
No.
right.
They have Down syndrome, but they're not
Yes,
suffering.
yes,
So it's just the wording, that people do. And I'm sure you guys get things
Oh,
like
100%.
like the internet trolls and things like that, you
yes,
know, that have the things, or
You
you
know,
should
and that's one
support
of
it.
the things that why Summer and I, wanted to start this podcast because when we were in Partners in Policy Making and I kind of shared my story the second week of Partners, Summer and a few other of the colleagues stood up. Well, Summer was in tears and she said, "Why are you not selling out arenas all over the world?" I said, "Summer, you tell me." I said,
Right.
"I can tell you one of the main reasons is because I sit in this chair and people don't give me a chance."
Well, that's exactly it. You're getting overlooked, and that's the things in life that need to change. So you, or just say your brother made you a page, or me having a page for my boys, is exploitation. But my son, who's 24, a year younger than Cameron, he can have a Facebook page and no one says anything. A TikTok, nobody says anything. But because the boys have a disability, it's
Right.
exploitation.
Right.
right. Yeah,
You know, and we get that all the time,
Yep.
yeah,
all the time.
So I think that's why collaboration is so important. That's why we need to team up as a community and be like, enough is enough. We
Yes.
we need to collaborate as much as possible and be like, "No, we have suffered too long for the disability community. We want our community, our brothers and sisters in the community to shine."
Yes, and that's what we're here for, is we're trying to advocate for our kids, because you're looking towards the end. We don't know what's gonna happen when we're gone. I am lucky that I have older kids that are still very involved, and we have dinners, and they grab the boys, and they go out to eat. I don't have any stress, but we have a lot of families that have kids that don't even have extended
Right.
family, or they have extended family that aren't willing to be there for them.
yeah, yeah. Shannon, let's take a step back, and talk about how you got into foster/adoption with these boys. You said there was a moment where you were told that Cody might,
Yes.
is that right? He
Yeah.
might have Down syndrome, and you were ecstatic, and you
Yes.
talked about, have being around people with disabilities and Down syndrome. So, you're at that point where you thought you might have a biological child that had Down syndrome, and that didn't happen. So,
Yeah.
how did it come to be that you fostered and adopted?
We did so we did a lot of foster care we were originally from San Diego, California. My husband and I did a lot of foster care, then we moved into therapeutic foster care, and then we took teens that were, like, on probation that nobody wanted. I have a heart, like I said, for the elderly. I love the elderly and listening to stories, and kids that need homes that people considered throwaway. Our kids are considered throwaway. They shouldn't be. But when they're in the system, they're
Right.
s they're not, you know? So that's what ended up happening. My son Cody had a best friend in kindergarten named Cash who had Down syndrome, and, I don't even know how Cody was on that site, but Cody found Joey on the internet. We weren't even looking to adopt. We had years before, before we moved to Wyoming, we had a little baby with Down syndrome in our custody, and 2 days before the adoption was final, the birth mom changed her mind. Rocked my world, devastated me, and I was done. We were not gonna ever adopt again. But then years later, Cody was born, and, he found Joey, and we put our name in the hat. There was, like, 20 people that wanted Joey, but because he was not potty trained, they all pulled out. So we got him by default, basically, because we were the only ones that would stay in because he wasn't potty trained. But I knew he was capable,
Right,
and so it started with Joey, and then I started just seeing these older kids they're not, some of them weren't even in homes. Like, Anthony was in a home, Tracy was in a facility. where you go through doors that are locked, like you use a keypad to get locked and you have staff that overturns and things like that.
Mhm.
Anthony had and Cameron was bouncing around between a facility, a foster home, then an adult group home because they couldn't find placement for him. Um, and Devlin was placed, I'm not sure what it's called, but it was more like a facility, and he learned some behaviors there, because Devlin, if you think it's funny and you laugh, he's gonna do it, whether you slap somebody in the butt, go AWOL, run from staff, and stuff like that. So, it started with Joey, but then I started seeing older kids, so then I inquired on, they said that's Tracy, and when we met Tracy, he definitely did not fit into our family. But I also saw him go into a fetal position when a certain staff walked by, like, drop to the floor, fetal position.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, he puts his hands on him. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. He puts his hands on him. And I posted a picture today, I think on our Facebook page, and it's the first day that we met Tracy. And we always tease Cody that he was the little Down syndrome whisperer because kids with Down syndrome gravitate to him. Tracy is into Cody's arms, and mind you, Cody's, I think, 9, is laying into Cody like a comfort, and my husband's like, "We have to take him." And we went back, I'm like, "I don't know, he's I don't know if he's gonna fit in because he doesn't, like, do things that we do," and that's how we ended up with Tracy. And this is how bad the system is. We didn't even have a court date for Tracy. They called us 4 or 5 days later and said, "Oh, by the way, we did the court, he's adopted." Wasn't a celebration, wasn't us showing up for court through Zoom. It was just done, like, nobody cared.
Yeah.
It you know,
Wow.
like, it was just sad, but if you look at my Facebook today, I did some throwback pictures of Joe and the one of Tracy and Joey, and you'll see I just love that picture, and that's how we ended up with Mr. Tracy.
That's
And he's
amazing.
been
I mean, it's heartbreaking and yet just amazing at the same time that you
the
guys.
kids well, our kids fall through the cracks. Um, Anthony, we inquired on, they said he was already adopted. He was never adopted, he fell through the cracks. I think it happened how it should have been because then now Tracy had a home. But then we see they send us a picture of Anthony, and I'm like, "We inquired on him years ago," and she's like, "No, he's been in the system." But he fell through the cracks because all these workers changed. There's too many workers with kids with special needs. You have the adoption worker, you have the case manager, and then you have the foster care worker. There's just so many people that these kids fall through the cracks. So it
Yeah,
just kind of started from there. The National Down Syndrome Adoption Network, they help place they only do kids in foster care or parents that want to make placements for their kids that are going to be born with Down syndrome. And Stephanie is amazing. She runs it, and that's how it all started. She would send me pictures of kids that were older, and um, she sent us pictures of Dylan a couple years before we got him, and I'm like, "Oh, he's so sweet. He's gonna be adopted." And, a couple years later, I got a new picture of him, but he's got dark circles under his eyes. He just looks sad, and it was the same kid. So there we are flying to Boston. I called her. I said, "We'll fly out there and we'll meet." And the funny thing is, he had such stinky little behaviors that the place that he was at, I feel like they tried to talk me out of it because they got big money for Devlin in a facility. That's what I feel like because they were really trying to throw up some stops on his adoption, and
yeah,
I would just argue back and forth, but we ended up getting to adopt him. And
that's
his mom now has more contact with him now than she could when he was in the foster care system. So that's worked out for both of them.
that's another thing I love about your family is I see you, encouraging those connections with the
Yeah.
biological family, and
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's really
And his
amazing.
mom is great. Her first experience with a special needs child was Devlin. Then you come from a lower income bracket, sometimes they've been homeless and things, you know what I'm saying? She just didn't have the resources or help that she needed. Somebody
Yeah,
should have stepped in and gave her resources, and
yeah.
they did. But she's great. She's been out a couple times and stays with us to visit and things like that, and they talk on the phone all the time. But that's just how it happened. I mean, it just did I plan on adopting 6 kids? No, we did not. I mean, 'cause and the thing is a lot of people, you see like, "Oh, that's her money bag." It's not our money bag, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is at this point. I have learned very well to try to ignore people on the internet because if we post 5 videos, they're a minute or less. So you get 5 minutes of a 24-hour day. Wow, they always have a camera in their face. No, but they would
Yeah.
like to. Cameron is all about he would go live 24/7. He wants me to hook up a karaoke machine, turn the phone on, and walk out and let him have a concert. Like,
Please.
Yes.
he loves social media.
Julia has just got to the point where, well, I kind of, I let the trolls get to me and I'm kind of like pull back on making videos with her. But the other day, she got up on the kitchen counter and she said, she gets up on the she stands up with the kitchen counter and she says, "Camera, please."
Yes.
And I'm like, "All right, here's the camera." Like, it's, it's, yeah,
She's a little diva. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and this is what I'm gonna tell you. The world needs to see Julia. They need to see her.
Thank you.
They need to
Thank
see her,
you.
that she is capable, that she is loved, and no matter they don't pay your bills, they don't help you in any sort of way. And some of these people that troll, that's all they do. They are professional trolls. That's what they do. They just get on and troll people. Because I've met a couple. You get 1, 2 free comments, and then sometimes I will post your stuff to my page. So we've turned 3 trolls into like nice friends now that comment. We talk back and forth, and they were viciously mean. Uh,
yeah,
Peter, I ended up buying him a coffee, sending him a Venmo, buying him a coffee because he was viciously mean. And I just kept treating him with kindness and we didn't argue back and forth. But don't hide her because of the trolls. You don't know these people. They don't pay your bills. So do we really care what they think? And
right,
that's where I had to learn. And I had to learn that from Cameron. He says, Mom, who cares? We're having fun. And I'm like, you know what? You are having fun. I'm
yeah,
not going to shield you from the world.
yeah. No, and that's, I mean,
But as a
ultimately,
mama
that's,
heart, I get you.
yeah, ultimately, that is, like, I think, well, our kids have been institutionalized and hidden for so long, and the
Mhm.
fact that they were hidden away from public eye is really what has result is the result of so much ableism, because
Right.
so
And
many people
Yeah.
haven't been exposed to those differences, and so they need to be exposed. So,
yeah,
yeah, I I agree. I appreciate the advice
Yes.
and the encouragement. Do you,
without our kids, because even there's still schools that try to hide some of our kids that aren't putting them
yes,
out into the general ed, like they're eating in their classroom. I don't allow my kid boys to eat in their classroom. They're to eat out with the general population, walk through the front of the school and things like that
Yes.
because they need to be seen. They need to, and I'm not gonna lie, we get the word window liquor all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. There's memes and things like that. But truly, I try to give grace because some of these people truly think that our boys do that. They
right,
do. They because they've seen the memes or they've seen those old shows. Do you know what I'm saying? Where they've made fun of people. That's why ours are going to be out in the public. You're going to see that they are behaved. Because believe me, when I walk into a restaurant and I got 6 kids that have a disability, you don't think we don't get any looks? You know what
Oh,
I'm saying?
please.
yeah,
Yes.
We had one place buy we were at a steakhouse, they bought our dinner and bought all the boys dessert and said, we were a little stressed when you walked in and we cannot believe how well behaved." And I'm thinking, "Why would you think they're not behaved? I mean, do you think they're gonna jump on the tables?" But people have a stereotype of people with disabilities.
yeah,
I mean, even
yeah,
with me with cerebral palsy, like I've gone on dates or gone to dinner with my family and I get stared at like I'm some sideshow
Yeah,
attraction. Like it's like this big whoop-de-doo that I'm out having, you know, a a dinner. Like it's this big ta-da that I'm
yeah.
in the community. Like, no.
Yeah, good for you. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like for you, I don't know how you would hold your tongue because I have a hard time holding my tongue, like with things. But I try to show grace because I truly believe people don't understand. And just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean your brain doesn't work.
Right. And professionally, I try to hold my tongue, but Summer can say, when I'm not on Zoom, I don't have a filter. So
Yeah,
I will politely tell you once, I appreciate it, but I am just as capable as you are. But if I have to tell you again, the claws are gonna come out.
yeah.
Because
But people need to respect that.
yes,
yeah,
And if you need help, you know when to ask for it.
exactly.
Little jokes like people will say, I'm like, you do realize my boys understand that you're making fun of them. They're not dumb. you know? Because even, like, when you and I don't know if you've experienced this yet, Summer, but, like, when you go into the IEP meetings and, they'll be, "Oh, you know, so and so, Devlin has so many friends." Well, okay, he has kids at school that talk to him, but they're not his friends, because if they were his friends, they would be calling after school, inviting him over, going to movies, like what kids
Exactly,
their age do. So,
exactly.
don't pat yourself on the back saying that my son has friends at school, because they're not his friends. They talk to him when he
Yes.
sees at school.
Yeah.
And that's where I know the school gets upset with me when I say things like this, but that is the truth, and we
That's
need
the
to
r
look at the reality of it.
that's the reality of it. Yes, and I agree. Like, um, I'm starting to see that since Julia has started school ever since she started school. It's like they talk about her going in the mainstream classroom and, "Oh, she has so many friends. Everybody loves her. Everybody loves her." But then whenever it comes to her birthday party, 3 kids show up.
Right,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. I get that they love her at school, but
yeah,
for it to be a true friend, so let's talk go back a little further with, like, with Anthony. So, Anthony, the first time he's ever gone out without me or one of his siblings was his senior year when he went to prom, and he got invited by a girl to prom, and they wanted to go hang out with friends. That's the first time he's ever, without a parent or one of his older siblings, gone off with people from school by himself. One time in his life,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So, yeah, I agree, like, there's been a lot of progress made, and I do appreciate, like, everything the school does, but there is still
But the teachers
a
need
long
to
ways to go.
understand us as parents. You may see that, but friends come out of school. You've got little girls in her class, if she goes into mainstream, that they go to jump trampoline places on the weekends and birthday parties and spend the night. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that would be a friend.
yeah,
So
yes,
you get a little frustrated with this, that
yeah,
hey,
There's a difference between an acquaintance and a friend, and
yeah. But the schools sometimes like to pride themselves on how many friends they have. Well, great, school, but we're talking true friendships
yeah,
they maintain. Because I'll have people message me like, "Oh, I had a best friend in high school," and I'm like, "Oh, are you still in contact with them?" "Oh, I don't know what happened to him."
yes,
oh,
Then were
exactly.
you a friend? Were you really a friend?
Yeah, so you were talking about having them dropped off at the front of the school, and it's just things like that, like being dropped off in the back of the school, keeping them out of public
Yes.
view. It's yeah, so institutions may not exist on a wide base, they're still
no.
kind of
I call it an institution, but I'm not exactly sure what they. It's like a residential facility for kids, is
Yeah.
what it is. I guess
yes,
that's what you would call it, a residential facility for kids. So Devlin was placed in a place with other kids, and they're like, oh, he goes AWOL, he does. I mean, they tried everything well, one of his like counselor workers, a therapist, tried to, and one other lady. And I'm like, listen, and I straight out said it right at the meeting. I said, he is dollar signs to you. You make double the money on a kid with special needs and you don't want to lose him. He will thrive at my house in a family. I will guarantee you that. And guess what? He's a totally different kid.
yeah,
Now
yeah,
he's ornery, and everyone's like, "Oh, you don't like him." I like him, but I have to get on him because if we give him an inch, he's going the mile. Do you know what
right,
I'm saying? A mile. So I may get on him, but Joyan is okay to do it. Each of because they're not the same person. I
yes,
know their personalities. Like Joey, we have to say it, but you ask anybody, Joey's the lazy one. He will put more work into getting out of doing a chore than it would take him to do the chore. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So they're all for different personalities, but everybody on social media thinks that I need to treat them all the same. Or Tracy, who's going to be 30 in July. Well, you need to get him one of the talking devices. And oh, you think we haven't tried that? He's 30. You think
yes,
we haven't done the PEC boards, the talking devices, the iPads? You know what he did with the iPad? I want to pop. I want to go home. I want to pop. I want to go home. He drove the teacher crazy.
yeah, yeah. No kid no 2 kids are the same, and you
No.
can't You can't I mean, I learned that I have 4 typical kids and only 1 child with a disability, and, um, overall, like,
None of
Julia,
your 4 are the same.
none of the n yeah,
Right.
they're I guess 5. I have 5 typical kids and then Julia. Yeah, they're none of them, I mean, they're all so different, and
Yeah.
you can't so disability or not, you have to change the way you parent every child.
But
Yes.
that's the That's the problem that we're facing in society is they want to group everybody with disabilities in the same box. They
Mhm.
want they want to put us all in one group of, oh, we want to lower the standards for people with disabilities. And it's one of those things that why can't somebody with a disability make a living and a career with what they want to do? When I graduated from college, mind you, I used, one of those job services to try to find me a job as an insurance salesman, and I talked to my caseworker, and she said, "Well, don't you think that the that career might be a little difficult for you? The movie theater or Goodwill is hiring." And
No.
I said, "Ma'am, with all due respect, I just spent 6 years getting a college degree." I said, "There is nothing wrong with the movie theater and Goodwill, but I said, I want a career, not a job. I spent
Yes.
6 years getting a degree, working my tail off, you know, bettering my life." And I said, if all that you can offer me is Goodwill or the movie theater, I said, I want you to close my case." And she said, "What?" And I said, "I'm going to make it on my own, and I'm going to show you and
Yes.
this agency that I can make it on my own."
Yes. And I'd have filed a complaint on her because she completely dismissed your ability. Like that right there was a slap in your face.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
And my mom at first, and my mom has always been an amazing advocate, but my mom was kind of hesitant at first when I said that I was going to close my case. She was like, "Bryce, are you sure?" And I said, "Mom, I'm not going to be told that all I am good for is Goodwill or the movie theater. I'm not going to do that. I'm going
No.
to tell that lady politely that I'm done. I'm going to make it on my own."
Yeah. And did she just let you close your case then?
Yeah, yeah. And I haven't used any state resources in 5 years.
Yeah. She shouldn't have that job.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's the reality for parents that have disabilities or anybody that has a disability that's trying to do something with their life.
Yes,
They want to hold you back. They want
right.
to hold the kids back, just like when we do like job opportunities with the schools and stuff. Well, the first job they want to give them is janitorial work and cleaning
Yes,
bathrooms that the
yeah,
employees don't want to do. So I say, yeah, they can work there, but they're not cleaning the bathrooms. They can do that at home and clean
right.
their own bathroom. And I
Yeah,
won't let them because they have paid staff. You're going to bring my kid in there to volunteer to teach
Yeah,
him job skills. Well, guess what? He does a really good job on his bathroom. He will not be cleaning the bathroom for the people
yeah,
that I
yeah.
just,
yeah.
yeah, I irritate a lot of people sometimes.
No, no, that's why we're friends, is
No,
because
that's
Yeah.
and that's
we
one reason we wanted you on here is because you are an amazing advocate for your boys and
It,
for
we want our kids to function at the highest ability that they can and make it. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like Cameron, he could live supervised. I don't know if Cameron could live independently, but I know that he could live in supported living.
I know a lot of able-bodied people that shouldn't live independently,
Yeah,
Shannon.
but see, that's what I'm saying. But I know Cam has a really, but because I think he's been in so many placements, it scares him when we bring it up.
Right.
yeah,
I want
yeah,
to stay with you. And we're like, you don't have to go anywhere. I'm just telling you. So with Anthony wanting to try to live on his own, we bought a camp trailer for the backyard. And you know what? He lasted like an hour and he was back in the house. So he didn't like the wind hitting the trailer. So we
Which
can
is
but
look at
fair.
doing something like that.
but
But
you gave him a shot.
well, and now we have it if the other boys wanted to try to live in it. Because I even
Yeah,
told my husband, why not get like a little tiny house or something if they want to try to live on their own?
Yeah.
Well, something, but the
Yeah.
camp alert, whatever. And Anthony was excited, but he got scared with the wind.
The
We
beauty
just
of dignity of risk.
yes.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, let them try it. I don't, we even had and and I will tell you, they would not let at school Cameron go off the diving board because he was blind. Now I love this teacher and her husband. We didn't know each other well then, but I don't hold my kids back. So I went and got a doctor's note to the school and gave it to him that Cameron can jump off the diving board. Well, this teacher walks in and he's going off the diving board. Like his mom brought a note in that the doctor said he could jump off the diving board. But in his IEP at the end of the year, she cried and thanked me and said that she could not, that she held him back and didn't even realize it, and that she was so glad because he loved jumping off that diving board. But why can't he experience it? Because he has special needs?
And
And
that's
people don't understand that they're doing that to our kids, you know, or Bryce being held back from a job.
yes.
That is, I just can't wrap my head around it.
And
Right.
that's the trap that we're in is, some of us as some people, parents see it, that they're protecting their child. Teachers see that they're protecting their student. Some people will are doing it just because they are mean, you know.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so it's coming from all different directions, but being held back and those limitations are coming just from everywhere.
Yeah. And we have to realize too, some people don't realize that they're giving our kids limitations. Like honestly, this teacher who I love, she didn't
Yes,
realize it. She thought she was being safe.
yes,
Right.
But I want my kids to experience everything they want to experience in life.
Right.
Just like if Cody wanted to go off the diving board, nothing would have been said. I want him to experience that stuff. All the
Well,
boys.
like
yeah,
you said previously, you want your boys to live as normal of a life as they possibly can.
Yes.
People try to define normal for people with disabilities as something other than able bodied children.
Yes. And that's exactly it because able-bodied children don't have to have these IEPs or being, on the state programs about what I want to do for my future. And I want to go to the movies and I will have a payee
Right.
and I will,
Right.
they don't have to do
Right.
all of that.
yeah.
So, you know, there's just a lot of stuff that
You
we're
know,
still
there's a
trying on,
lot
but
of
we're making
times
progress.
there's a lot of times where I got asked in college, people were shocked that I went to football games and I went to social events. They were like, "You go out, you socialize." And I'm like, "Why not?"
I know. And you're like, well, do you? Yes.
Yeah.
There's no difference in you and them.
They were shocked when I joined a fraternity in college. They were like, "You wanted to be in a fraternity, you really?" And I'm like, "Why not?"
Yeah.
Exactly. All the life experiences.
Those are the best.
Shannon,
Those were the best 2 years of my life that I was in there.
Shannon, can you go into a little bit of what like a typical day in your home looks like with the boys?
Oh Lord. Depends on who's home. So here's the deal. I will honestly tell you, people come over and are very surprised. They think my house will be chaotic and it's not. Like they're like, "Oh my God, we thought your house was going to be like chaotic. You're gonna have Anthony's nosy. He wants to hear the whole conversation. Joey will be off in his room. The boys do their own thing. Do we have chaotic days? Oh yeah. Over the remote control sometimes. People not being where they should be and deviling, into personal space. But they boys get up, we do breakfast, we get our chores done before we leave the house. And if it's summertime, I find this works really well for me. Chores before breakfast. They will get those things done within a half hour. Um, and we like to go and the boys like to go into town all the time. And I will say, like, everyone's like, "Oh, you guys eat out all the time." The restaurant is very good to us. The boys eat at Old Chicago. They give us the gold discount. So the boys get 50 to 60% off when we go. So it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
This restaurant has just been very good to us. Um, but everyone does their thing. Like we have the playground in the backyard, we've got animals to feed and things like that. But normally you really got to encourage Joey to get up and get moving. If we would let him lay in bed with an iPad all day, that's what he would do.
Yeah.
You have really got to get a fire under his rear end. to get him motivated to do anything. But if you're in the kitchen and he hears the pans, he's right there because he likes to help cook and things like that. But like this morning was pure chaos because I forgot the house cleaner was coming and I was trying to figure out where I was going to be in the house for quiet. And I finally just called my mom and said, I'm coming down to your house to use your office because the house cleaner showed up and I forgot. And dad's coming home and he's off at night. So it was just pure chaos this morning. And Devlin was at school. He wasn't even there. And usually he's in the middle of the chaos. And
Yeah.
he's not, and people are like, oh, he's not bad. He is just funny and a prankster. He loves attention. So if I said, wow, Summer, you look great today. Me too, Mom. Do I look nice today? Like you can't, he has to have, but I think that's a lot of being around staff. Ian. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you don't
Yeah.
get that. When you're in those, you have to side hug. We don't side hug at our house. We hug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kid is so touchy feely that, he's got to have that.
Yeah.
Physical physical attention is his love language. That's great.
Yes.
Good, good. Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
What's
So
the biggest thing that you learned from your kids?
I think I would have to say grace and compassion because I don't tell the boys like the bad things that say. I'll say, there's some people not being nice. So, and they're like, well, we just need Cameron will be like, well, we just need to teach them that we're the same or that we're cooler than them. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I thought, you know what? And when
Wow.
I started listening to them, because you could be mean, Bryce, you can meet my kid and call him an a-hole. Cameron might call you one back, but like my other boys, they,
Yeah.
they would still be nice to you and be like, whatever. Um, but I found with some of the people that because I get some pretty nasty private messages.
Yeah.
I'm talking nasty. But I always try to be kind to them and be like, yeah, if you ever met the boys in person, you would really enjoy them. Oh, and by the way, they saw your profile pictures, they love your tattoos. Well, that opens up a conversation.
yeah.
And like I said, we have ended up making some friends with some of our terrible trolls, and they've come back and have apologized. And I have one that I knew just in his responses because I did therapy for us here. I said he's got mommy and daddy issues, and come to find out he had a terrible childhood.
Wow.
But we tried to be kind, and now he'll message, "Hey, how you guys doing?" and stuff like that. But I
Like
feel like we're a typical family. We're just a big family.
I really admire you for that because I really struggle like with trolls. I just automatically just want to block them or
Yeah, and I
yeah.
don't block right away. I don't. Um, Now I like I said, I give you like two messages to me and then sometimes I'll screenshot you. And I will tell you, there's been some nasty ones that I have screenshotted and found them on Facebook and sent them the screenshots to all of their friends, their grandma, their mom, their dads, workplaces. I have done that to three people.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you want to do that and you're a grown man,
Yes.
then
Yeah.
your wife and your mom, because you can figure out who their family is, and some of them are pretty shocked. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe you just
Well,
did that.
I've had people comment some pretty horrible things and I go to their page and they have like Bible scripture
Yes,
posted.
yes.
And I'm like you, I'm like, people in your life should know who you really are. This is like
Yeah, you just
this,
send off.
yeah. Um,
One they warned me, well, you shouldn't do that because I could be a murderer. I said, well, you're not. Um, so I don't know what to tell you. I said, but if you're proud enough to post it, then you should be okay with people on your page seeing it.
yeah,
And I just
yeah,
went down and if you can't message them, I just go under their pictures and comment. I just copy and paste it like on 100 of their pictures.
yeah,
Do your friends know that you bully? And then I put a picture of the kids' boys or whoever they said something about. Because the big one right now is Cameron, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I'm like, oh, he loves that movie. Oh, thank you. He said thank you. He loves that movie. You made his day. Because if you don't give them that reaction, they're gonna
yeah,
go away,
yeah.
or they're shocked that you're nice to them.
That's good advice. That's good advice. Um,
Because we're here to stay. Julia's here to stay.
yes,
Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And we're not going anywhere because our kids have the right to be here and do what the rest of you guys are doing.
yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
And and just like we said, like the more people that see, and I almost feel like I've kind of talked about, because Bryce and I talked about, like when we started this podcast, we both just kind of got real with each other and said the trolls will be coming,
Yes.
Yes.
for us. Disability attracts those ableist.
Yes.
Mhm.
And, I made the comment to Bryce. I said, sometimes people need to see those ugly comments
Yes.
to
Yeah,
see
because
what we're
That's
dealing
where
with.
I'm at. That's why I screenshot. Like if you go to the boys' page, you'll see, I think it's the boys' page. It might even be on my page, but mostly the boys' page. I will screenshot even on on TikTok, and I'll just post them there. And then I
Yeah.
don't tell anybody to go after them, but I will say the Peter guy that he was viciously mean. Oh, he was like he got
I,
under my skin a little bit, and
I
he
think I
asked,
remember him. I think I remember him. Yeah.
but he said your kids must be great. He said because he said I had over 200 of your followers message me. Not
Wow.
nice. And
oh,
I said, I did not send them after you. I said, I don't do that. I said, and
Yeah.
I am sorry for that. He's like, well, why are you apologizing? Because I don't do that. I just think if you can post it, sometimes it just needs to be said, and there are consequences.
Yeah.
You know,
and
Yeah.
like I told Summer, I said, I'm not looking to, you know, do this and get big on social media for personal reasons. I want to create a platform for the next generation. I want to
yes,
showcase Julia, and I want to give her a platform and kids like Julia so they don't have to fight as hard as I did. And I'm still fighting for inclusion.
yes,
I'm still fighting for inclusion at 29. I made a point at Partners in Policy Making that with all the certifications and degrees that I have, I would be making well over six figures if I was an atypical able-bodied person. But since I sit in this wonderful chair that costs more than people's cars sometimes, it baffles me that I don't even get, looked at by people. They're like, oh, good for you. You know,
yeah,
good for you that you're a public speaker and a disability advocate. Good for you, buddy. Like, here's a balloon. I don't want a
yeah.
balloon.
I don't want the balloon. I want to change your mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just degrading for people to do that to you.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I became an advocate, Shannon, is because I wanted to showcase to the world that, yeah, we have come far as the disability movement, but we have so much
Oh,
to go.
so far to go.
Yeah.
And I think that collaboration on social media, like in the world of a typical thing, you and Summer and I wouldn't have met. You live in Wyoming, we live here. In
Yeah.
a typical world, we would have probably never met. But since we are all part of the disability community and we're all online, the ability to have conversations and build friendships and build community is honestly a benefit because we're able to create, kind of a coalition tag team and be like, no, I hear you. I see you. This is not good enough.
Yes, I agree 100% that we have so far to go with all this. And with us being on social media, and your guys' podcast should take off because it's so knowledgeable. Because I sit and listen to every one of them and I'm like, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? It's,
Well,
we
We,
just,
if you could help, kind of spread the word, on so we can get, more voices on our podcast and, our message, we would love that very much.
oh,
yeah.
for sure. Whatever you guys need, the boys and I are willing to do. That's why we basically started our page is I wanted them to see. I'm very into I don't like kids being raised in the foster care system where they have a disability or don't have a disability. Do you know what I'm saying? But our kids bouncing around the found because they don't have a place for them because they have a disability is disgusting.
Yes.
Cameron should have never been in over 30 placements. Never been in over 30 placements. Him and Joey got separated in foster care. Then they came to live with us in their forever home. Cameron wanted to live with his brother because we actually were looking at Julian. That's a whole nother story. And then they
Right.
sent a video of Cameron because Julian's family was not cooperative, the foster family, but they didn't want to adopt him. Um, But we had the boys a couple months, and then we got a call saying on Tuesday that they had to be back in Arizona on Thursday because between the states they missed a paper, and the boys got taken away for 11 months. It took me 11 months to get the boys back
Oh,
to
wow.
our custody,
Wow,
and by
what?
that, all trust was lost with Cameron when we got him back. He was angry. He was mad. Then they were saying, "You can't talk to him." I'm like, "How can I not talk to him? I've been the only consistent thing."
He's my son.
It's like, yeah, I said, we had him, you told him we were his forever home, but they didn't care because, him and Julian are B2 100 numbers. They weren't kids, they were numbers. You know what I'm saying? They weren't faces. It took me 11 months to get them back into the
That
custody.
that is that is just sickening in so many ways I can't even describe. Um,
And when they went back, they were separated
That's heartbreaking.
again. Like it was terrible.
you
Cameron
know,
was so mad at me.
Summer, I say this to you every time we do an episode, but this is exactly why I signed on with you to hear stories like that. Yes, it's heartbreaking. Yes, and I am so sorry for what you had to go through, but this is exactly why I wanted to do this podcast to share these stories so the world understands how difficult the disability community has it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want
Well,
it to sound like a sob story and we're asking for sympathy and all that. No, I'm giving you the cold, hard truth, ladies and gentlemen, that this is not easy for these individuals.
yeah. And and to and for those people that are in the thick of it now, to hear those stories that, you know, you've been through it, Shannon, and you stuck through it and actually made a difference to, maybe give some family that's going through this right now some hope to just, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also something I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and I would like to see more people look into adopting some of our kiddos with special needs so they're not raised in the system.
Yes.
That they're
Yes.
loved on and hugged on and they have that touch. Our because our kiddos, they love that touch. But
Yes.
when you're in a facility, it's side hugs, shaking hands and things like that. So Devlin craves that. And even Cameron craves that. So I know that he's too old and I try to be as age appropriate as he can, but he does like to have his hand held when and I do it because he didn't get it as a child. So I
Right.
do hold his hand when we're crossing the street. I don't do the elbow, which would be more appropriate, and we know that. And people like to correct me, but I also know it's past, and I know that
Right.
Right.
he needs that.
Yeah.
But you know what? You, and I'm going to say this to you, with your background, with how you were raised, with your parents running a group home, they are exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, and see, and that's I will say our family is where they need to be. We love our boys. You guys on social media can come at us. Oh, it's a money grab. No, why would you do that? Nobody would do that for free. Well, guess what? We have big hearts and we love our boys. And I'm a mama bear. I have ticked a lot of people off,
Yeah.
but and my boys will tell you they are happy. They are loved.
Well, you
And
can
and
you can tell by watching your videos how cared for they are and
Right.
how happy they are. I mean, just it's your family is just absolutely beautiful.
everyone's like, "Oh, you have the patience." I don't. Don't.
No.
I lose my crap. They get on my nerves sometimes. I mean, Julian just called me a fat B word a couple weeks ago, but he didn't know the kitchen window was open and I heard him. But you know what? Him and I were not getting along. I said, "You need to go away and I need to go this way. We're going to take a break and I'm taking the DVD player with me because you're not being nice." And then, you know what I'm saying? So they do
Yeah.
those things.
Yeah.
It's
Uh, Julia just had her evaluation at school, and that we went through the part of the evaluation where the evaluator called me and asked me, about an hour's worth of questions, and she said, does Julia bully anybody? And
you're
I
like,
said,
"Yeah,
well,
me."
Yeah, me.
that's exactly what I said. I said, well, yesterday she called me stupid. So,
Yes, what
but
any typical kid would do though. That so
yeah,
you're like, "Yeah,
well,
thank you."
yeah, and the lady, she laughed and she said, well, that sounds just like parent child relationship, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
And that has to make your mama heart happy. But the boys and I argue, you know what I'm
Oh,
saying? Like
yeah.
they get attitude. They're teens and they're in the 25s. They get ticked at me if we don't do anything. It's not the patience. There's times where we, and I'm not gonna lie, I have literally locked myself in a pantry to eat a cookie by myself and not have to share it. I will go in the pantry and that's a true story because I don't want to share it.
Well, what are you gonna do with 1 cookie and 6 boys, though?
That's what I'm saying. I'm taking this. I'm going in the pantry. I'll see y'all in a
Yeah,
minute.
that's problem solving. That's not being
I mean,
selfish, Shannon, that's
that's
problem
probably the
solving.
There you
that's
go.
probably the most glorious answer I've ever heard in my entire life. I locked myself into a pantry to have a cookie. Oh my, yes.
It's
Yeah,
just like I said, everyone are like, oh, we got stared at Sam's Club in line because I had all the boys, and he's like, oh, my son's not being rude. I was just explaining to him how lucky you're because your boys are never sad. Excuse me? Never sad or mad? Let me pull up a video of Joey. Here you go.
yeah,
Yeah, they have the same emotions as you and I. That little extra chromosome's not making them, extra happy
Yeah.
where we don't have those feelings. If you hit them, they're gonna hurt.
yes,
Um, and that is what I want to change. They have the same feelings
Yes.
as anybody else. You're in a wheelchair, but doesn't mean people get to come talk to you like a child.
Exactly. There, my favorite thing that ticks my mom off still to this day, and I'll briefly talk about it. We'll be out somewhere, and some person will tap my mom and say, "Excuse me, ma'am, can he have this?" And my mom will say, "I don't know. Ask him, Bryce. Do you want that?" I'm like, "Hell no, I don't want. I want to be treated like everybody else. You can come talk to me like a human."
Yes.
yes, yes.
And we get that at restaurants. When the boys order food, the lady will be like, what do they want?
Yep.
I
Yep.
I'm like, boys, tell her what you want. So I will say at Old Chicago, we have Lauren. She knows the boys' orders by heart. They are so good. But I've also had like, I can't understand them. Can you answer for them? I said, no. But when the boys order, because some people down there have apraxia, I just repeat what they say. But yes, I'm gonna let them make eye contact and order because they're
Yep.
adults.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. Well, we're
And
gonna we're gonna wrap it up. Bryce, do you want to ask your final question?
yes, I do. I do. What do you want yours and your boy's legacy to be?
I want us to be known that we took care of our boys and that we change people's minds on disability and adoption. That is my number one goal is to not see kids bounce in the foster care system.
I
I
love it.
think that you are doing an amazing job, and I think that what you are doing to change the narrative not only for kids with Down syndrome, but disability community all around the world, like this is you are one of the main reasons why we started this podcast. Your story alone is exactly why Summer and I wanted to do this podcast to share stories that haven't been told yet, and I just cannot thank you enough for coming on here and sharing your story.
Well, I
Truly.
appreciate
Yes.
you guys. I feel like
Yes.
the boys now have to make a road trip up to Oklahoma
We would absolutely love
Yes.
that.
and they
Yes.
love road trips. So don't be
Yeah.
surprised if I'm like, hey, we're coming.
Oh, we would love it. We would love it. And Bryce talks about my dream list. I don't know if you've heard him talk about, but you were on my wish list. Whenever I sent him a list, I said these are the people, these are the first few people that I want to have on this podcast. Um I knew you were going through a lot with Anthony at the time, so
Oh yeah.
took us a little bit, but so
I'm
thankful
still
for
trying
you.
to rebound from that.
I I mean, you were in our prayers. It's just, yeah, and
Well, and
we're
I love that you say
continue
that
praying.
because I would show all my kids, like my daughters and stuff, because I really feel like my other daughter will adopt a child with Down syndrome, a little girl. But I'm like, I'm gonna meet this little girl. And my daughter's like, oh my God, like it. I'm like, I'm gonna meet her. I said, I don't care what we have to do. I said, but the boys and I are gonna meet her because she caught our hearts the first video we ever saw. And
Oh,
when I was like messaging you, and then I'm like, oh, and then we saw the little doll, little doll with Down syndrome and stuff, and I'm like, this
we
is her.
we still have that doll and play with it every day, and I'm like, "This came from Shannon and the Pinkerton boys." So, yeah, I mean, like, feelings mutual. I just we saw your videos, and I was just like it just felt like
We're
you know,
family.
felt a
Yeah.
little bit like family, yeah. Your boys and Mary Beth just really and all of your family just have a place in my heart, so
Well, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Yeah. We have to exchange social medias because I have to follow you guys and you guys can follow me back on my
Definitely.
Instagram and Facebook and I just want to continue I want to start and continue this relationship because these kind of relationships need to happen.
They do. And I really appreciate you guys. I probably one of my favorite podcasts is I'm excited when you guys are doing it because you guys have a heart for what I have a heart for. And
Wow.
we do need to change things.
Wow.
that's that we love hearing that from you. Thank you so much. Well, Bryce, do you want to sign us off?
Yes. And for another wonderful episode of Where the Ramp Ends, I'm Bryce.
And I'm Summer.
And this is where the ramp ends and where your journey begins. Till next time, bye bye.
Bye.